You know, I get asked the question of how do you find your true purpose often. And from my own lived experience and coaching thousands of other people, what I have come to is that people seek their purpose externally in the world, but really where you gotta start is paying attention to your own life. What are the triumphs and tragedies in your life? Most people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Let lying dogs lie. Like, I don't want to look back in my life. Isn't that over yet? Well, it's really interesting because Joseph Campbell's saying, which is the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek, really rings true here in my lived experience and what I've seen with others. And so let me tell you a little bit about how I found my purpose. I'm an engineer, I'm an internal medicine physician, an executive coach, a mind-body medicine practitioner. It goes on and on. Now, one person could say, oh, how'd you find your purpose? And it might seem like, oh, it's so obvious. But look at how many times I had to explore all these other things. So when I go back in my life, I realize that it comes from my childhood. When I was really young, I had an experience where I lived with my grandparents and then I came back into my family. And that was really traumatic for me. While my culture thinks it's nothing to hand children around to the extended family and it's not a big deal. When I lived with my grandparents for 2 years, but then came back into my regular family, not only did my older sister not really want me around, I mean, who wants to split love with your parents? She started trying to figure out ways to kind of get me out or bully me, kind of exclude me. She didn't have the emotional tools to handle this either. And my parents, who were in their 20s, well, they didn't even think about this. So I shut down my emotions, I shut down my communication, and I started becoming a people pleaser in the world. I heard my father say that he wanted a son who was an engineer. Well, listen, I couldn't do the son thing, but I certainly started gearing toward math and science, and I was pretty good at them. So I thought, well, I can do the engineering. Then I heard my mom say, I missed my calling as to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon. And I thought, well, okay, this is getting complicated, but at least those two things aren't mutually exclusive. And as I was this people pleaser, trying to please everybody around me so no one would send me away again, the Indian community really revered doctors, engineers. I mean, heck, why don't I just be both and I'll get everybody's love? So as I grew up, I shut down my own voice, I shut down my own heart, my own ability to communicate. So fast forward, I'm 33 and I burn out, and I think it's the most humiliating, embarrassing moment of my life. But in fact, what it was the wake-up call to my true life. So in that moment, when I started learning the power of communicating authentically, of listening to my emotions and my body, I started to really understand that this might be the key to finding true purpose in your life. So it's about figuring out what moves you in your life, what connects you, what emotionally inspires tears of joy, excitement. It's about what wrecks you, what disappoints you and causes the most pain in your life. And that 3 decades of time where I felt disconnected from myself and from other people because I was turning myself into a pretzel to become who they wanted me to be. So if they liked me, it wasn't really me they liked. And so in this experience, I think that you can find your true purpose by going back in your life and just kind of mapping out the things that were the high points and the low points of your life. I call it your life map. And then once you find that, start working on healing those pain points and noticing what brings you joy. And once you heal me, right, heal yourself, the deeper you go in healing that, you build the solid foundation that then allows you to see in the world where there's a need, in my case, for navigating emotions, clear, direct communication, the power of that in engineering, in medicine to heal, right? How many engineers do you know that are good communicators? How many doctors do you know that have good bedside manner? See, it's like what makes them extra special. So while I enjoyed both of these careers, it didn't feel quite like my purpose. And so what I grew into was, as I healed me, I realized that self-awareness, empowering other people in developing their own self-trust, being excellent communicators, well, now I could see everywhere in the world where that would apply. And so that's the journey I'm on, writing books, being a keynote speaker. And people say, how do you do this so effortlessly? And I'd say, well, first of all, it's not effortlessly. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's fun work. It feels like play, and the people I meet just inspire and engage me to a new level of creating. So creativity, innovation, all of that is born from the events and experiences in your life that move you. So here's the bottom line. You want to find your purpose? Get really clear on the triumphs and tragedies in your life. Work on healing me so that you can see ways to serve the we and change the world. Good luck.